You can feel it already, can't you? The air is tense. The silence feels heavier. And somewhere deep in your body, there is a knowing. This eclipse is not moving past him. It is moving through him. The shadows are pressing on his chest, pulling at his dreams, stirring the emotions he tried to bury. He cannot escape at this time. Every defense, every wall, every distraction is breaking under the weight of the moon's shadow. This is not punishment. It is initiation. The divine masculine is being stripped, layer by layer, so that truth can finally emerge. And you, the feminine, will feel the ripples. His silence will shift. His energy will crack open. His longing will surface in ways he cannot explain. So the question is not if he feels it. The question is, are you ready to witness the masculine step into his shadow and into his awakening? The divine masculine has always carried his shadows differently. Where the feminine cries, he closes. Where she surrenders, he resists. Where she feels, he hides. But tonight, under the weight of this lunar eclipse, his hiding places collapse. The shadow does not ask for permission. It enters the cracks of his silence, and it brings to the surface what he fought hardest to bury. For lifetimes, the masculine has been trained to wear armor, to lead without feeling, to provide without vulnerability, to fight instead of confess. That armor kept him moving, but it also kept him distant from others, from the feminine, and most of all, from himself. The eclipse does not attack the armor. It simply makes it too heavy to carry. Suddenly, the walls that once protected him feel suffocating. The silence that once gave him power feels like a cage. This is why his body reacts first. Restless sleep. Vivid dreams filled with the strange symbols or old faces. Pressure in the chest. Waves of heat in the spine. Tension in the jaw. He cannot explain it, but his vessel is screaming what his mind refuses to admit. I am not fine. The eclipse moves through his nervous system, rewiring the places where he numbed pain with distraction. And then the emotions come. Bursts of anger, sudden sadness, even unexpected tenderness. He may feel tears rise and swallow them back down. He may feel rage without a clear cause. He may long for the feminine without knowing why. These are not signs of weakness. They are proof that the eclipse is forcing his heart to thaw. For too long, he has mistaken numbness for strength. The moon reminds him strength is not suppression. It is truth. The wounds rising now are not new. They are ancient. The fear of failure, the shame of not being enough, the guilt of promises broken, of roles abandoned, of love mishandled. He may not say these words, but he feels them, pulsing beneath his ribs. The eclipse exposes them like raw nerves, not to punish him, but to make him see that avoiding them has only kept him small. And through the tether, the feminine feels it. His restlessness shows up in her dreams. His confusion echoes in her body. His longing brushes against her field like static. She does not imagine it. She receives it. Because the cord is alive, and when one shifts, the other senses it. But here is the truth. The eclipse is not asking her to carry him. It is asking him to face himself. The shadow is his teacher now. No amount of her prayers, her devotion, her energy can spare him from this initiation. He must walk through the cave alone, and he must learn that silence is no longer escape. It is confrontation. So if you notice the masculine withdrawing, know this: it is not indifference. It is the eclipse dragging him into his own reflection. If he grows distant, restless, distracted, it is not rejection. It is his soul refusing to numb anymore. The walls are cracking. The armor is breaking, and what lies beneath is the raw, unfiltered truth of who he is. This is the hidden gift of the eclipse. It forces the masculine to meet his own wounds, to feel them, to stop running from them. And though he may resist, though he may fight, though he may stumble, the truth remains: he cannot ignore the shadows tonight. The question is not whether he feels it. The question is whether he will finally let the shadow transform him. The masculine may try to act as if nothing has changed. He may bury himself in work, in distractions, in noise. But the eclipse does not negotiate. It moves through his body, his emotion, and even his silence until he can no longer pretend. The signs are there, unmistakable, pressing against him from the inside out. The first is restlessness. Sleep becomes a battlefield. He turns in his bed, eyes opening at odd hours, pulled into dreams that shake him awake. In these dreams, the past returns. Old loves, lost opportunities, moments of failure, faces of people he thought he forgot. They replay not to torment him, but to show him what still has power over his heart. The eclipse opens his subconscious like a window, and what blows through cannot be ignored. Then, there is the body itself. Tightness in the chest, sudden headaches, waves of heat in the spine or stomach. His appetite may shift. Foods he once craved now feel heavy, while his body longs for simplicity and grounding. These physical symptoms are not random. They are signals that his nervous system is burning through old codes, releasing layers of suppression he has carried for too long. The body does not lie, even when the mind refuses truth. Emotionally, the signs are even louder. Bursts of anger for no reason, irritation at small things, sudden tears he hides quickly, longing that hits him out of nowhere, for love, for connection, for the feminine. He may feel an ache in his heart that he cannot name, a hollowness that success, attention, or distraction cannot fill. This is the eclipse, stripping away his illusion, leaving only the raw hunger for what is real. He may also feel a strange silence within himself. The conversations that once entertained him seem shallow. The noise that once distracted him now feels exhausting. He may withdraw not out of rejection, but because his soul is asking him to listen inward. The eclipse turns down the volume of the outside world so that he is forced to hear the voice he has been ignoring, his own. And there is the tether. He may feel the feminine's absence more acutely now. The comfort of her energy, the steady presence of her devotion, the invisible ways she carried him. He notices when it is gone. The emptiness unsettles him. It rattles his ego, forcing him to realize he cannot depend on her to do the work for him anymore. If he wants to feel her frequency again, he must rise to meet it. These signs are uncomfortable, yes, but they are also undeniable proof that the eclipse is not leaving him untouched. He cannot escape into numbness this time. His body, his emotions, his dreams, even his silence, all of them are speaking the same truth. The shadow has arrived, and it demands his attention. So if you see him restless, distracted, moody, even distant, know that it is not indifference. It is initiation. His old ways of coping no longer work. The eclipse has entered his field, and it will not let him go back to sleep. The divine masculine cannot ignore what is happening inside him tonight. He may resist, he may fight, but every sign points to the same truth. The shadow is here to awaken him. How the feminine's shift forces his awakening. The masculine does not exist in isolation. He has always been tied to the feminine through an invisible tether, a field of energy that neither distance nor silence can sever. And this is why her evolution shakes him more deeply than any eclipse in the sky, because he feels her changes in his body, even if he doesn't understand them. For so long, he relied on her light without realizing it. Her devotion was his oxygen. Her prayers were his shelter. Her energy bled into his wounds, covering the emptiness he refused to face. But when the feminine shifts, when she stops pouring into him, when she chooses herself, when she closes the leaks in her field, he feels the absence like a shockwave. It is not cruelty. It is truth. And that truth awakens him more than comfort ever could. This is why, during the eclipse, his silence feels louder. He may withdraw, but the withdrawal is not power. It is panic. His distractions no longer work because her energy is no longer cushioning him. He feels her detachment, her clarity, her refusal to repeat old cycles, and it rattles him. For the first time, he is forced to meet himself without her carrying the weight. And yet, even in silence, the tether vibrates. He dreams of her. He thinks of her at random hours. He feels sudden waves of longing, of regret, of desire. He does not know why. But the truth is simple. Her frequency has changed, and his soul is trying to catch up. The eclipse magnifies this contrast. Her expansion highlights his stagnation. Her release exposes his attachments. Her truth makes his denial unbearable. It is here that the masculine faces a choice. He can resist, clinging harder to pride, numbing himself with distraction, pretending he does not care. Or he can surrender, letting the discomfort crack him open, letting the shadow show him what he has ignored. The feminine cannot make this choice for him. Her only role is to hold her own field steady, to continue rising without waiting for him to follow, because it is her very rising that forces him to see he cannot stay asleep. The irony is that her detachment teaches him love more than her devotion ever did. When she no longer rescues, he learns to stand. When she no longer explains, he learns to listen. When she no longer carries him, he feels the weight of his own soul and the call to finally claim it. And this is why the eclipse is such a turning point. It does not simply reveal his wounds. It shows him the cost of staying in them. It makes him feel the gap between where he is and where she has gone. And that gap burns. It aches. It demands movement. So if you sense him restless, if his silence feels charged, if you feel him in your dreams or in sudden waves of thought, trust that it is not imagination. He is feeling you. He is feeling the shift. And whether he admits it or not, it is changing him. The feminine does not need to chase, to plead, or to prove. Her evolution is enough. Her frequency itself is the awakening call he cannot ignore. The eclipse made sure of it. The eclipse does not only expose wounds, it dismantles cycles. And for the divine masculine, this is the most unsettling part. He has built his identity on repetition. The roles he plays, the defenses he uses, the relationships he clings to, the patterns that make him feel safe, even as they keep him trapped. But under the shadow of the moon, those cycles crack. Suddenly, the strategies that once worked lose their power. The distractions that numbed him feel empty. The excuses that justified distance sound hollow even to his own ears. The eclipse confronts him with a truth he cannot escape. What he repeats is what keeps him small. He may feel this in his routines. The job that feeds survival but starves his spirit. The relationships that provide comfort but demand silence. The habits that fill his time but rob his soul. The eclipse strips away the illusion of stability, showing him that clinging to the familiar is not strength. It is stagnation. Old karmic ties also surface now. Past connections replay, not as romance, but as lessons. He sees the cycle of chasing and withdrawing, of control and collapse, of longing and avoidance. The tether to the feminine magnifies this truth, because her release highlights his dependency. Where she has grown, he has looped. Where she has surrendered, he has resisted. The gap is undeniable, and the shadow makes him face it. This breaking is not gentle. The masculine may lash out, withdraw deeper, or cling harder. But these are the death throes of old cycles that cannot survive the eclipse. The shadow is burning contracts he signed unconsciously, to hide his heart, to deny his pain, to live half alive. And though the fire feels cruel, it is mercy, because it frees him from cages he built himself. If you notice sudden shifts, endings, confessions, outbursts, silence, know they are not random. They are the eclipse tearing the threads of repetition so he can finally breathe something new. He may not understand it yet. He may resist it, but the cycles are breaking, and no amount of pride or denial can stitch them back together. The masculine is being stripped of the stories that kept him asleep. And though the process feels like collapse, it is in truth the beginning of his rebirth. The eclipse does not only break the old, it resets the field. And for the divine masculine, this reset feels like standing at the edge of an unfamiliar landscape. His walls are cracking, his distractions are failing, his emotions are rising. The question now is not whether he will change, but how he will prepare for the change that has already begun. Preparation for the masculine is not about rituals or performances. It is about stripping away the illusions he has used as armor. The eclipse forces him to face what he has avoided, the way he hides behind work, the way he numbs with noise, the way he silences truth to keep control. These methods no longer hold. They collapse under the shadow, leaving him face to face with the rawness of himself. The first step in his reset is acknowledgement. He must admit, even if only to himself, that he is not fine. That the anger, the heaviness, the restlessness are not random. They are signals. They are the eclipse pushing through his system. For the masculine, this honesty is the hardest task of all. Vulnerability feels like weakness, but in truth, it is his doorway to strength. Then comes release. He cannot carry every expectation, every failure, every false responsibility anymore. The eclipse strips him of the weight he clings to, but he must be willing to let it fall. Old versions of himself, the provider who never rests, the leader who never doubts, the man who never feels, are dying. And if he tries to revive them, he will only exhaust himself. His preparation is surrender, to stop fighting what is leaving and allow space for what is arriving. The body speaks loudly here. He may feel the urge to rest more, to simplify his food, to move differently. These instincts are not weakness, they are alignment. The eclipse resets not only the spirit, but also the vessel. If he ignores the body, he resists the reset. If he listens, he grounds the shift. And the tether ensures that the feminine feels it too. She may sense his emptiness, his silence, his longing. But her task is not to intervene. Her task is to stay rooted in her own expansion, because her stability shows him that it is possible. The eclipse resets them both, but in different ways. She is called to rise. He is called to rebuild. In this reset, the masculine will discover new truth, that he is not powerless without her energy. He is simply unpracticed in his own. That love is not control, it is surrender. That strength is not hardness, it is presence. These are lessons he cannot skip. The eclipse plants them deep, and they will sprout whether he resists or not. So what can be done? Only this: let the reset happen. Allow the silence. Honor the restlessness. Trust the emotions. For the masculine, preparation is not about being ready. It is about being real. And once he admits what he feels, the reset begins to stabilize. The eclipse does not erase him. It reintroduces him. It returns him to the core he buried beneath pride and pain. And if he allows it, this reset will be the doorway to a version of himself that is finally whole. Not because the feminine carried him, but because he chose to stand on his own. The eclipse is not punishment, and it is not cruelty. It is a teacher. And for the divine masculine, the shadow is the classroom he can no longer skip. He has spent lifetimes building walls against it, convincing himself that silence was strength and numbness was control. But tonight, the moon pulls those walls apart. The shadow steps in, not as an enemy, but as the only guide willing to show him what comfort always hid. The shadow does not flatter him. It does not soothe him. It confronts. It shows him the pain he buried, the guilt he silenced, the longing he dismissed. It plays back the patterns he repeated until they became prisons. And though he resists, though his ego screams for escape, deep down he knows this is the medicine he has been running from. Every restless dream, every ache in his chest, every wave of emotion he cannot explain. These are the lessons. They are the reminders that he is not broken, only unawakened. The shadow reveals what has been true all along. His heart still beats. His soul still longs. His love still waits beneath the rubble of his fear. And here lies the paradox. The feminine cannot teach him this. She has shown him devotion. She has carried him with her energy. She has held the mirror as long as she could. But the eclipse makes sure that this lesson comes not from her, but from his own encounter with the dark. The cord may transmit the ripples, but the shadow belongs to him. If he listens, the shadow will give him back his power. It will teach him that vulnerability is not weakness. It is the doorway to intimacy. That admitting his wounds is not defeat. It is liberation. That loving the feminine is not about leaning on her, but about meeting her as an equal, rooted in his own truth. The eclipse will not leave him unchanged. It cannot. Whether he admits it or not, whether he resists or surrenders, something has already shifted. The shadow has touched him, and its fingerprints remain. He may stumble, he may deny, but the seed has been planted, and seeds, once planted, always grow. So if you sense him in your field tonight, if his energy brushes against yours, if his silence feels louder than usual, if you dream of him unexpectedly, trust that it is not coincidence. He is walking with his teacher. He is facing the dark he avoided. And even if he never speaks it, even if he never shows it, his soul is learning. The shadow is not his enemy. It is his awakening. And when the light returns, as it always does, he will carry the imprint of this night. He will remember that the eclipse stripped him not to destroy him, but to rebuild him. He will remember that the feminine did not abandon him. She simply rose high enough for him to finally see what he was missing. The eclipse does not close his story. It opens it, and in the silence of the shadow, the divine masculine begins to hear the voice he buried long ago. The voice of his own soul, calling him home.